Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll call the Lakeland Shore City Council meeting to order, May 4th, 2017, 6:30. Roll call, please.
Randy Kopesky.
Here.
Don Bishop.
Here.
Brian Geller.
Here.
Tim Schroeder. Here. Tom Olson.
Here.
You'll join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Join us. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our next item is to adopt the agenda, but I would like to make one addition to the consent agenda. It will be item C. It's more of a business matter, where we would appoint Kim Points, who hopefully everybody has met already, as our interim clerk and zoning administrator, which she has the authority, as long as she's willing to continue to work with us to sign clerk's signatures and that thing. So with that addition, if you guys are comfortable with that, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
Make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion and a second. Any comments? Call for vote. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Carries. First item is the consent agenda. There's 3 items on there. Approve April 4, 2017 City Council meeting minutes. Approve monthly claims and financial reports. And as I mentioned, appointing Kim Points as interim clerk and zoning administrator. I would mention there's one change relative to compensation for Kim for her service for April. There was a miscommunication on my part. So the amount would actually be 2/3 of what we're contracting for, approximately $666.67. Is that right, Tom?
That is correct.
As opposed to $333.32.
Correct. So I just prepared the additional check tonight for you. So we'll just add the new check of $334.
Okay. Are you guys comfortable with the consent agenda, or is there any item you'd like to pull? I'll make a motion we approve it. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Carries. Public comments. Thank you. There's nobody here with us this evening. Did we receive any written comments?
No.
Okay. So we can move on. Agency reports. Washington County Sheriff Report. Was that in our packet? Don't have to recall.
Still about the alarm system?
Okay.
Yeah, there are 9 alarms.
I think we'll see Sid place.
Here's one right
I don't know. Don't
Thank you.
the doors.
I did find it. Yep. So, Kim, could I ask maybe 2 things that I'd like to communicate to the Sheriff's Department? These alarms, I think that this has been an issue. There are maybe 2 or 3 homes in the community that have regular alarm issues. In a lot of communities, 1 or 2 a year, but anything above and beyond, there's some type of a chargeback if we're incurring a charge. Would you mind digging into that just a little bit? We're not looking to be punitive if sometimes that's what it takes for people to get their systems fixed.
Yes, I'm looking at it.
And then the other thing was, we received a call from one of our residents that she's a little bit frustrated that as she's walking through our community, Deputy Sir. Hi, welcome. We're actually on your agenda item if you have just a quick second.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'll back up. So we're looking at our monthly report, and it seems like we've got a number of alarms going off.
Yes.
And we're wondering, I think we have 2 or 3 homes in the community that maybe are habitual offenders of the false alarms.
Sure.
Some communities do a chargeback for that, or if we're incurring costs, or if it's becoming, taking too much of your resource, we're going to explore whether or not we need to look at some type of a fee associated after the first 2 per year or something.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
That does. I've heard of that. Are you talking about 85 Lakeland Shore
It doesn't
Road?
say on your ICR report, but
Yeah.
do we have one property in particular with multiple alarms?
There was one in particular where there was a week or 2 stretch where we probably had 6 alarms,
Okay.
all of which were false alarms, and I believe it probably a center home to the individual.
I think there's a caretaker living there, though. Yeah.
It's every time I responded, I wasn't able to get in contact with anybody at the house, but everything was secure. I didn't look like there was. Everything looked very clean, and there was nothing out that I could see through the windows as if somebody hadn't been
I
home
believe
for a
there's 2
while.
people living there.
I know caretaker lives there. I know I was working on site on multiple days there. It went off at least twice in 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
And sometimes it stays up quite a while, like quite a while, maybe a minute, 2.
Yeah.
And sometimes it shuts off pretty rapidly. I do know that one of our residents reported 3 squad cars showed up one time. They parked out on the street there. I don't know if you were one of them or not, but...
That's a lot of resources being used for a false alarm.
So,
All right, so we'll work with your department
Okay.
and see what we can come up with, what's reasonable.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And then we had a citizen complaint woman that's walking her dog and running through the neighborhood, and she's a little bit frustrated at the number of unleashed animals.
Okay.
Dogs that are coming up and barking,
Yeah.
and one instance kind of nipping at her dog.
Okay.
Over by your house, where you and Tom are, down that road dead ends with a path that connects over to 2nd Street. So what is that, Vision and Quinnell?
It's Quinn will be to Vision in a second.
Yeah. So as you're patrolling, if you're seeing unleashed dogs, could we just maybe educate people that they need unleashed?
Absolutely. And I will also pass that along to my partners that work the contract too.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's reasonable. You can't have.
no, I agree.
Okay. Thank you. Anything for us that you want to report?
Nope, I was just going to address the alarms.
Okay.
And just let you know that they were all false alarms.
All right.
But yeah, that's all I had.
Perfect. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate your time. See you.
Mayor?
Yeah.
Is there a possibility, now I know on the report that I provided the deputy, it just says like Lake and Shores on there. Is it possible that the addresses, or is that not public information?
I've never known to put those on.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a privacy issue.
I'm sorry?
I think it's a privacy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think. I don't know.
Could you check on that? It would be interesting, because that would help us then to, because we don't know who's doing what. And
Right.
we see that, it's 99 whatever, we take it off.
Yeah.
So we, see if you see it's possible that it can be specifically addressed which ones are going off.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
would help us.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they can do that or not, but I'll check.
Every member of this council, not this council, but, the Lake Shore Council discussing alarms. In the first couple of years, I became the treasurer, and I believe they reached some sort of resolution.
Think we may have a policy or have it in ordinance?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think something was reached.
So yeah, we'll start with what we already have and make sure we're following it.
The only thing I will say about privacy is even in the fire department report, we have a street, but we don't have an address. And we can't publish that. That's just the way the fire department is chose to,
We'll ask though.
yeah.
I understand it's not public, but is it possible we could see it from a council standpoint, this is the alarm? Could the fire department see it?
It's an open meeting. It's an open meeting, all the stuff is going on. So if...
We'll ask.
Yeah, we'll find out.
All right. Thank you. Have a great night.
Good evening.
We'll be quiet. Item B, fire department report.
Couple quick things, nothing really major. Budget has been approved by the finance committee, to be approved next week by the board. It should be in your hands by next month. Stayed right on 2.5% base. Try to think of we had 2 runs in our town, which is twice as many as we usually have last month. 3 to 94. Generally speaking, it was 23 medicals. The rest were car fire, gas fire, structure fire, hazmat. The fire department, and I may mention this before, but it is now in place. The fire department, in order to reduce insurance costs for homeowners insurance, especially after, that's sort of the biggest part of this has come. If there's a confirmed structure fire anywhere in our, but especially up in Athens, there's an automatic response to not only our department, but Woodbury. So it auto-dispatched 2 departments, i.e. therefore the insurance world thinks that that's a better response and will bring down the insurance costs for those people. I think might have something to help in Lakeland back up on the hill where it's non-hydranted, but that's kind of, so hands off to the fire department, they're looking for ways not only to control air costs, but to control individual insurance costs also. That's all I have on that.
Great. Thank you. Building permit report. I believe we received a communication from Minspect. I would like to add that Minspect really stepped up in the absence of Andy and before we were saved by him in issuing some permits. I had the official city phone for a couple of weeks and one weekend to take care of the phone was ringing like crazy and I didn't know where to start. So Minspect did a really nice job of stepping up for us. I think beyond that, there's nothing particular to report from them.
I emailed a building permit on the project, and they hadn't gotten back to me. That was 2 weeks ago, so.
I would call, yeah, because they've been really responsive.
Usually they're pretty good on emails, I don't know, me, to go through it, that was 10%.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'll check.
All right. Move on to the engineering report.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple just real quick items before we get into the action items under number 5. Hutchin River, it's at elevation 682 right now, projected to go about a half a foot in the next few days. And right now the projections are for it to remain at that elevation 682.5 for about 5 days. I know that folks here are probably accustomed, those who are interested anyways, to looking this for themselves. I'd send them here, give you that quick update. And then second item is the county's rail project has been awarded to hard drives. That project came in, the bid came in under the proposed budget, and I'm sorry I don't have those specific numbers for here, but there isn't any Lakeland Shores funding going to that project anyway. So the good news is the county's project is likely to be under the projected cost. And they have a very aggressive schedule. I recall the contractor is supposed to have this work done by the end of June. So you'll likely see them out pretty quickly and getting started on their work.
That's for the whole path replacement?
It is, all the way down through to Athens. Now, my understanding is there is a roughly 400 feet of trail down at the very end, which is actually getting redone as a part of the street project in Athens and not a part of the trail project, but they're both county projects, so they marry up, they've been coordinated within the department there. So.
And I thought I saw some follow-up communication about the low spot over near Shiner, so they're aware of that and they're going to address that.
That's what I understand now. I didn't guess that long. I was copied in on some of that correspondence, I think, early on. John mentioned it to me. Sorry, Councilmember Bishop mentioned it to me a couple weeks back, too. So they're aware of that.
I saw confirmation from the county that they were aware of it and they were addressing it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what came from, but I know we saw that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember seeing it, too. So.
Right. It was more than just an acknowledgement from you that there was a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
But I think just keep your eye on that.
Sure.
But it appears to be on there.
On the radar, yep.
And that was, as far as I'm concerned, that was not the prior intent to the problem.
Right.
I think I right my liking.
I got one question. How do we, so that, I noticed the other day we had a telephone communication company driving on it. They're right there on 2nd Street, and he rode a team parked on it.
Yeah.
So how do we keep those guys off it?
Well, maybe I could just say this to you. In most communities, that's common practice and it's allowed.
But will it be feasible to do it?
From an engineering standpoint, I would not be worried about the occasional one-ton truck, on your trail for maintenance purposes.
Yeah. But I mean, they had perfect access on the side of the road, except they decided to park on a path.
So about all the city can do in that is to appeal to their...
So would there be signage on that? I mean, we have signs that say...
So what I'm going to say is that it's the county's right of way, so if you're in, the county is one that would have the authority to ask them to move. Yeah. There are signs, the county has a very robust trail signing policy that they'll be following, but I don't know exactly what those signs include. So whether they're going to say, motorized vehicles, but even maintenance vehicles a lot of times are excluded from those kind of things anyway.
I just hate to see us putting how much is it going to cost? $500,000?
Something like that.
And these guys, they can park right there on the street, but let alone they're too lazy to park and block the path.
So, and I don't want to come to their defense, but it's a whole lot safer for a utility vehicle to be up on the path than it is for them to be out along the edge of the travel roadway. My guess is that, if you ask them about that, that's probably what they would cite for the reasoning that, that they would...
But I guess the really answer to his question is it's not in the city's authority to do anything. That's really the county right away for them to decide how to handle it.
Yep.
Well, it comes down to this.
Yeah, and we covered this a bit in the past, but I think, the county has come with a maintenance policy. Did we talk about that a couple months back?
Well, we asked to see a draft of it.
And it hasn't been distributed yet to any of the cities. But that maintenance policy, the revised maintenance policy, is really going to be written in what I would describe as the city's favor as compared to what's been in the past. So, you'll really be responsible for minor maintenance as opposed to the major stuff. So I think that's golden news.
Anything else as part of your report, or the rest of it we'll cover in item 5?
That's all.
One thing. John mentioned the very first part of the report, the river, and this is my ignorance, is it good or bad? He said the river is at 682.
Yeah, elevation 682.
Is it flooding?
So that's about 10 feet lower than the 100-year flood elevation. It's about 7 feet higher than its normal low. So it's, it's about typical for this time of year, if I can say it that way. So there aren't really properties flooding. There may be some that have boathouses very close to the water, but even at its elevation, I don't think any of the boathouses are affected.
Minimal impact right now.
Warehouse and the launch place blocked off, that type of thing. But 683 is where the wakes one kicked in, I believe.
Okay.
And so they're half a foot short of that. So, as far as I can figure out from my own beach, it's
normal.
It's getting there. But what concerns me a little bit is we had no snow this winter.
Yeah.
We had no rain in March. We've had average rain a little bit above in April. I'm thinking where's this coming from? It's probably being stopped down the Mississippi somewhere, backing up. I don't know. It does seem a little strange that it's gone up considering we had no snow.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just don't know.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'd always provide the context, but usually the folks who live on the river have a pretty good idea what the numbers mean, but I'm happy to answer those questions too. So.
Great. Let's move on to item 5, unfinished new business.
Okay, Mayor, under item 5, we have two action items for the council tonight. One has to do with providing bid concurrence for the 2017 street improvement project, which is a partnership between Lake and Shores and St. Mary's Point, with St. Mary's Point being the lead contracting agency. For Lake and Shores, the reconstruction, if you will, rehabilitation of Quinlan Avenue from 2nd to 3rd is included in this project. This is a piece that was bid out last fall, or rather midsummer, I should say, for fall construction, and the bid amount received at that time was over $38,000. This time around, the construction bid for Lake and Shores on Quinlan Canal is $25,565.75. Now, the mayor and Councilmember Bischoff are both aware that there was an error in one of the documents that I sent early on, but Mayor, I've learned in talking with interim clerk tonight that she actually got a revised memo in your packet. So the revised memo has been corrected, and the correct numbers are reflected here, and so this number of $25,565.75 is correct. If council members happen to pull out this detailed cost breakdown here, which is a bigger spreadsheet, the error that is on the very bottom of the last page where it shows $8,000 for a reconstruct of a drainage structure, which is actually located in St. Mary's Point. And I had a council meeting on Tuesday night with St. Mary's Point, made them aware also of this error, and they've in fact approved the correct amount for their bid award, which covers the $8,000. So this number, $25,565.75, does not include the $8,000 as Lake Shore expense, but rather as St. Mary's Point expense. And then we'll handle that administratively once the contract's awarded. We'll make sure the applications for payment get corrected before they're issued to the contract. So I think it's mostly good news that the estimate, or that the bid amount has come in considerably less, roughly $13,000 less than the bid from last year. So I think we can all feel good about waiting and about rejecting the bid. So kudos to the previous councils that took that action. And we also can feel good that the $25,000 is almost $4,500 roughly below the budgeted amount of $30,000. So no matter how you cut it here, the bid came in less than what was anticipated. So with that, one of the actions the council would need to take would be to award or rather provide bid concurrence to St. Mary's Point with Schedule B hard drives in the amount of $25,565.75.
John, let me just stop you for a second. You and I had a brief discussion, and I think John was one pointed out to me. That portion of our city ends up being a staging area for an awful lot of activity that takes place on Lake and Shore Road. So I see a fair amount of commercial vehicles, lawnmowers, delivery vehicles, what have you. So we talked about whether or not we needed to increase the thickness of the road or something to that effect. John shared with me that they're going to do a regrind on that, so we'll actually pick up a couple of inches plus the 3 inches of new pavement that we're putting down. So between the gravel, the regrind, and the new, it's going to be a pretty significant, substantial road. The other issue he pointed out is, maybe where the pavement is running into the dirt and the gravel, or the dirt and the grass, maybe we want to do a little bit of strip of gravel there so that the paved edge holds up a little bit better. I don't know if you had a chance to give any more thought to that.
Yes, I did, Mayor. A couple of things to note. I mentioned that I wasn't sure at the time that we spoke, but in fact I can confirm by looking at the plans here. We're actually, this bid amount includes 3.5 inches of asphalt once the grinding is done. So in fact, the strength of the road that you have now will be increased by 3.5 inches of asphalt, or you can say 3 inches of the gravel. Because you're going to grind up the existing asphalt. That's going to result in about 3 inches of additional gravel, and we'll get another 1/2 inch of asphalt than what we have now. So we have a couple of things working in your favor, just in terms of the strength of the road itself. But that only helps with vehicles that stay on the road, and those that park on the shoulder tend to beat up that edge of the pavement. And so over the long term, there's a couple of different approaches that you could take. One would be some sort of a concrete ribbon curb. That's fairly costly. It's, probably could add, I'm just going to guess at about $5,000-6,000 maybe to the cost of the project to put that ribbon curb on one side of the road. But maybe a better option would be to consider putting a 4-foot wide gravel shoulder, which I suspect would come in at closer to $2,500. Maybe $3,000 on the outside, depending on how good the contractor's willing to be with us. Based on some of the bid prices I see here, for other items like that, I would expect that we would be able to get the cost for $2,500.
So I always like to do a cost not to exceed. If the council were comfortable with that, would we need to incorporate that into this bid concurrence?
Not necessarily, because it's not part of that contract right
Okay,
now.
right.
You would need to instruct me to work with the contractor to come back, I guess, with a change order potentially to do gravel shoulder at the
All right.
next meeting.
So then let's just go with the bid concurrence. Council, I assume that you're in support of moving forward with this project, since we got favorable numbers?
My only question, John, was what's happening right at that intersection, Lakeland George Road and 2nd Street North and Quinn. Now, I mean, how far into that intersection are they going? I can't really tell from, obviously, this little thing we have on the map here.
And my question was, are they coming around the corner? Because they could come around the corner into that going west on 2nd Street a little too. The whole intersection is beat up there.
So the costs in front of you right now only include going to the north side of 2nd. So,
2nd Street doesn't get touched.
so 2nd Street really doesn't get touched, and it's the portion of Gwinnell there that would get redone. Now,
And almost nothing on Lake Shores Road.
and nothing on Lake Shores Road, right.
Okay.
Now, this is the sort of thing that, because we will have unit prices for this work, if we want to expand it a little bit, we can really easily, just by telling the contractor we want to do a bigger area, but costs go up, at that increment, and we'd have to calculate what that would be.
On our improvement schedule, is Lake Shores Road scheduled for a mill overlay, or?
If you give me a minute here, I can tell you.
Okay. But even that, if you wanted to extend it, would be outside the scope of the bid concurrence award?
Yeah, but it's really easy to do. The bid concurrence is kind of a separate exercise, and it doesn't establish those unit prices. And so if the council would like to further, direct that we expand into that intersection there, I'm sorry, I just don't have, estimates and can't quite do that on the fly for you tonight, but it's an easy thing to do. If we're at roughly $25,000 in cost now, I would guess that that's probably going to add another 3 or 4, and then another $2,500 for the shoulder work.
Okay.
It's kind of just shooting the hip as we look at the drawing.
Well, let's circle back to both of those issues. Let's focus on the bid concurrence. That's step one.
Well, let's take a vote on that, on the original.
Right.
And let's talk about that.
And we'll come back to the other two, because I'm understanding they're separate items.
Whatever, John we can
Come back.
deal with the extra costs might be for the other two things.
Right. So is there a consensus among us, and do we want to make a motion to award the bid concurrence to Vancouver Beach for 2017 street improvements?
I'll have more discussion, but somebody wants to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. We approve that.
I'll second it. Discussion?
Discussion. In bid, John, you've always, I remember always saying there's contingencies. Is there contingencies in this?
Well, not in this, not in the contract itself. There's contingencies in your budget, your $30,000 budget.
Oh, because that's what here's the reason I asked that, is if there was contingency, maybe that would address the little things that we want to do. But apparently there's no contingency in this then?
Not in contract with the contractor, there never is. So the contingency resides in your $30,000 budget number that we recommend you establish for the project at the outset. And in the contractor's contract is always straight up costs based on the estimated quantity. So the contingency isn't there. It's in your budget amount.
So even though that it's lower than what we thought, we do have a little wiggle room. What is it, $4,500? So if we want to do a little bit more, we actually kind of, in a roundabout way, did budget for the extra because we budgeted up to 30.
You did, and I defer to your, to the treasurer, but, the spending above 30,000 is discretionary as well. I mean, if we came back and wanted to extend to that intersection, it actually turns out to be 31,000 doing intersection and shoulder and the base contract, you still have a discretion to do that. So there's nothing magical about the 30, it was just an estimate that was used to help you budget and plan for the project.
Well, I can tell you, are we going to take a vote?
Well, we're commenting, so if you'd like, comment.
No, I don't comment. I want to comment on other things.
I just had two questions. One, when you said they're going to mill it and leave it and then go over with 3 inches, how do they, going to the north, how they size it down to flush in with the other one?
Well, it's enough rock, yes, the
So
final,
they put speed bump on it?
yeah, no, for the final end product, yes, they'll taper that down.
They'll
They'll
taper
basically
it.
grade that new gravel. So it's a little different than milling, I know what you're using that term. It's a full depth reclamation, so we're actually grinding all the way down to the gravel block.
Okay.
So then they have the ability to just kind of taper that out, keep it down to 3.5 inches, so that when they pave, it's a nice flat surface, you won't notice the difference.
And my other thing was, I'm just questioning how much work we got going on Lakeland Shores Road and if it's going to get damaged. That's my biggest concern.
Well, I agree with you, and I think that's where, when we come back to the second item about coming around that corner, if we want to do that or not, that way I'd share that concern. So let's cross the first item off. I'll call the question. All those in favor of awarding 2017 street improvement bid concurrence, signify by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. John, the second part then?
So the second part on the memo, actually, is reverse order of what we have on the agenda. It doesn't really matter. It's the cooperative agreement, and that is just acknowledging legally binding Lakeland Shores to St. Mary's Point, vice versa, with legal language that says basically that each city is paying for the cost within their own corporate limits for the project, and that St. Mary's Point will be the contracting agency, and that they will bill Lakeland Shores for the cost, the portion of construction costs that occur in Lake Shore, and that you pay them. And of course, the whole detailed document is there. There's a lot more to it than that an attorney would, that'd be better equipped to explain. But that document is in your packet. If you have any questions, you can let me know. I have the original version that St. Mary's Point approved and signed at their meeting earlier this week. And so, should you approve this agreement, then I would ask that both the mayor and the clerk sign it this evening, and I can send it on St. Mary's Point.
I'll make a motion that we approve that agreement. Is there a second?
I second.
Discussion? Call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Carries. Let's come back to the contingencies then. The potential for additional shoulder work, and whether or not now is the time to work on that intersection of 2nd and Lakeland Shores Road. And I share Tim's concern. I think we have at least one, maybe 3 homes on Lakeland Shores Road that are going to be doing projects this summer, and that's my biggest concern with going too far. So for me, the gravel's no-brainer, because I think we're going to continue to see that pattern and maybe more with the new construction. I'm 50-50 on improving the intersection based on the traffic I think we're going to see.
I was kind of thinking just the opposite, actually. I was thinking it was probably more important to get that intersection paved, because it does seem to be somewhat questionable. There's a certain number, as I see, if it's on, they're stopping right where the intersection of the north side of 2nd Street North is canal there, none of that intersection is included. And I know that there's some, I don't know what you want to call it, decay, for lack of a better word, right in that intersection as we speak. And, to me, I'd rather have that done than I would have gravel done, mainly because I think it'd probably be cheaper just put up a sign saying no unloading of...
Put signs there so they can't.
Do something like that. They're going to do it one way or the other. Most of them are lawnmowing people with their big trailers and multiple lawnmowers, but very often it's tree companies. Right is one of them, and I noticed when they were in there cutting this week, they were parked.
It seems to be a default staging area.
They were parked on the other side of 2nd Street North and the south side of 2nd Street North. And so,
So you're inclined to do the intersection?
If I only had to do one,
I think it's one or the other. Frankly, with 4,500 under budget, we can probably go on both.
Is there a right or a wrong way? Is there a best way so that we can, it all gets what's nice?
John, what's your professional opinion on both the questions?
Well, not like being on the spot, because I think you could be comfortable doing it either way, but if I could offer this just for your consideration. Looking at the CIP, which still needs a little updating here. We last had Lake Shores Road scheduled for reclaim and pave in 2023, so that's still 5-6 years out. And so the one way to look at, I guess, okay, if it were my money, I would probably wait, because I wouldn't want, if you're